Paris, August 26, 2025. In the French capital, a tragedy has reignited a national debate about technology, accountability and profit. The sudden death of Raphael Graven, the young French streamer better known online as Jean Pormanov or simply JP, has forced policymakers to confront an uncomfortable reality. On today's internet, violence and exploitation can be monetized just as easily as entertainment or education, and for many in government, that is no longer acceptable. This morning, France's Minister Delegate for Digital Affairs, Clara Chapaz, stepped before the press to outline a series of proposals aimed at reshaping how digital platforms operate. Her words carried urgency, not just because of the loss of a prominent figure, but because of what his death revealed about the darker incentives of online platforms. Chapaz began by recalling the early stages of the investigation that followed Graven's death. She pointed out that more than 80 separate reports were filed to the French reporting system known as Pharos, and regulators at Arcom were brought in. Yet despite this flurry of activity, significant gaps remained. In her words, we need to shed light on exactly what happens from the moment an investigation begins, and I propose to the Prime Minister to launch an inspection mission so we can fully understand the potential challenges in taking action. The Minister's comments underscored a larger truth. The machinery of oversight is already in place, but it is struggling to keep up with the speed, the scale, and the business models of online platforms. She then moved to the subject of money, the raw economics of online influence. Since July 1st, she explained, the French government had tasked two political figures, former MP Stéphane Vogetta and sitting MP Arthur Delaporte, with leading a mission on the content creator economy. And the numbers she cited were striking. Around 200,000 people subscribed to Graven's channel. If each paid €5 a month, the total revenue would climb to staggering levels, though precise data from the streaming platform Kick has yet to be provided. Add to that the €36,000 raised through an online fundraiser at the time of Graven's death, and the picture becomes clear. Tragedy itself had become a source of income. Chapaz did not mince her words. She said she demanded that France explore every possible avenue to strengthen the regulatory framework and ensure that violence and other behaviours exploiting vulnerabilities cannot be monetised. This was not only a call for stricter policing of content, it was a demand to rethink the underlying economics that make shocking material profitable in the first place. From money, the minister pivoted to morality and to the protection of the young. She reaffirmed her commitment to ban social media for children under 15. She framed it as part of a broader effort ordered by the French president through what is known as the Screen Commission. Her tone was defiant. She promised to push this through not only at the European level, but also at the national level, regardless of what Mr. Trump or others may say. It was a reminder that this is not merely a French debate, but one tied into global arguments about freedom, safety, and regulation in the digital space. But Chapaz also wanted to emphasize Europe's strength. With 450 million citizens, the European Union remains one of the most powerful markets in the world. In her words, that is our strength. Platforms such as Meta or Kick may resist, but access to such a vast audience is simply too attractive to ignore. That is why Europe, she argued, has already managed to push for a unique framework combining citizen protection with platform accountability. She pointed to one specific case, the streaming platform Kick. Until very recently, Kick did not even have a representative in Europe. European regulation now requires every platform to designate one. And as Chapaz bluntly put it, enforcing obligations is impossible without someone reachable by phone. For her, this small but concrete change is a sign of what Europe can achieve when it acts as a unified bloc. Beyond the minister's immediate remarks lies a wider backdrop. Europe has already passed sweeping laws such as the Digital Services Act and the Digital Markets Act. These measures force companies to remove illegal content, disclose their algorithms, and limit exploitative practices. Yet critics argue that the laws, though ambitious, may not go far enough. The case of Raphael Graven seems to support that claim. Harmful behaviour not only escaped timely intervention, it was actively monetised. The implications go further still. For families, for policymakers and for society at large, the death of a young streamer is not just a personal tragedy. It is also a warning about the trajectory of the internet itself. Online communities have given millions of people belonging and opportunity, but when business models encourage and reward content that exploits suffering or amplifies violence, the cost is borne by individuals and by society alike. The French government's response signals the beginning of a new phase in internet regulation, one focused not just on policing content, but on challenging the very structures that generate profit from harm. It will not be easy. Platforms are vast, multinational, and fiercely protective of their revenue. Yet Chapaz insists that with European unity, France has leverage. In her framing, no company that wishes to reach 450 million consumers can afford to ignore European law. Across the Atlantic, however, the picture looks very different. In the United States, political will to regulate platforms is far weaker. That difference was evident when Chapaz openly referenced Donald Trump. The minister signaled that European action would not be deterred by voices from Washington or anywhere else. For her, this is not a matter of diplomatic negotiation, but of fundamental responsibility. As she concluded her press briefing, the minister sought to remind her audience that the fight is not against technology itself, but against its misuse. Platforms must be places of creativity and community, not of exploitation. For the family of Raphael Graven, for his fans, and for the policymakers now mobilized in Paris, the hope is that this tragedy might trigger meaningful change. Whether these proposals succeed remains to be seen. What is certain is that the debate has moved into sharper focus. Violence online is no longer seen merely as a byproduct of digital culture. It is being recognized, finally, as an economic phenomenon in its own right, one that demands accountability, regulation, and, in the words of Clara Chapaz, a clear inspection of how action is taken, how platforms operate, and how profit is made. Tonight, France stands at a crossroads. The government has pledged to fight the monetization of violence online. The European Union has the size and the power to impose its rules. And the world, once again, is watching how tragedy reshapes law, technology, and the fragile line. Regarding our fight to make the internet safer, I see several key takeaways from this meeting. First, we clearly have many stakeholders around the table with regulations that are sometimes quite new. As a result, I want us to shed light on exactly what happens from the moment the investigation begins on December 13th, when more than 80 reports are made to Pharos, when ARCOM is involved. I propose to the Prime Minister to launch an inspection mission so we can fully understand the potential challenges in taking action. Since July 1st, the Prime Minister and I launch a mission with Stéphane Vogetta, former MP, and MP Arthur Delaporte to reflect on the content creator economy. When I see that 200,000 people subscribe to Jean Pormenov's channel, each paying €5 per month based on my calculations, since we still do not have precise data from Kik, though the investigation will clarify this, and when I see that an online fundraiser reaches €36,000 at the time of Raphael Graven's death, I am in a position to demand, and I do demand, that we explore every possible avenue to strengthen our regulatory framework and ensure that violence and other behaviours exploiting vulnerabilities cannot be monetised. We are 450 million Europeans. That is our strength. It is why France pushes for a unique framework for citizen protection and platform accountability. It is also why platforms like Meta and others that want to operate in France and Europe today respect our rules, because having access to 450 million people is very attractive to companies, I can assure you. European regulation requires that every platform have a representative in Europe, and that is a good thing. Kik does not even have a representative until very recently. To enforce obligations on a stakeholder, having someone reachable by phone is essential for obtaining results. This is a good development, and once again, it is thanks to being 450 million people that we can impose such obligations on platforms.